My son died more than 10 years ago in an accident on a cliff. The pain still hasn't subsided until one day I received a message from my son. Mom, they framed me. The house felt too large that night, every creak of the old floorboards reminding me how empty it had become. I'm Laura Vance, 58 now, and the quiet has been my companion for 15 years. I keep the lights low, the curtains half drawn, the way Zion liked them when he studied late. His room stays frozen in time, posters curling at the edges, the faint scent of motor oil clinging to his leather jacket, the helmet on the shelf like a silent sentinel. I dust around his things, never moving them. Touching anything feels like erasing him. Rain pounded the roof, a steady drum that usually lulled me to sleep, but not tonight. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, tracing the same cracks I'd memorized years ago. Then the phone buzzed, one sharp vibration on the nightstand. I reached for it, expecting a weather alert or a wrong number. The screen glowed in the dark. Zion Vance. My breath caught. That name, that number, deactivated a decade ago after we lowered the phone into the ground with him. My fingers hovered, trembling. This had to be a mistake, a glitch, a dream. I swiped to answer. Static hissed, then a voice, young and fractured, slipped through the line. Mom. They lied. 12 seconds. The call ended as abruptly as it began, leaving only the storm's roar. I sat upright, heart hammering against my ribs. The phone slipped from my hand, clattering to the floor. I stared at it, willing the screen to change, to show a different name, a different time. But the log was merciless. Incoming call. Zion Vance, 3:27 a.m. I rose, legs unsteady, and paced the hallway. The rain-soaked windows blurred the world outside, mirroring the chaos in my mind. Was this grief playing tricks again? I'd heard stories, mothers seeing their children in crowds, hearing their voices in empty rooms. But this felt different, real. The voice carried Zion's cadence, that slight hitch when he was nervous, like when he'd confessed to sneaking out past curfew. I pressed my palms to my eyes, trying to steady myself. Confusion wrapped around me like a shroud. Memories surged, uninvited but vivid. Family dinners, when Zion's laughter filled the house, his elbows knocking over glasses as he gestured wildly about his latest project. I'd stand at the stove, stirring sauce, watching him and Darius debate engine specs. I gave up my teaching job for those nights, trading lesson plans for grocery lists, parent-teacher conferences for his motorcycle races. Love meant sacrifice, and I poured every ounce into him. Lake house vacations too, packing sandwiches, Zion in the back seat with his headphones, singing off-key to make me smile. I taught him to skip stones, to steer that first dirt bike. His grin under the helmet, wind whipping his hair, those moments were my world. Now, in the dim light of my bedroom, that world cracked open. I picked up the phone again, thumb tracing the call log. Zion Vance. The name stared back, accusing. Who could do this? Hackers? Pranksters? The idea of someone toying with my pain ignited a spark of anger beneath the panic. I moved to Zion's room, flipping on the light. His posters gazed down. His bed still made with the same plaid comforter. I sank onto the edge, clutching his old photo from the nightstand. His smile, frozen at 17. What did you mean, baby? Who lied? Dawn crept in, grey and heavy. I brewed coffee, the ritual grounding me. The house felt colder, the silence louder. I couldn't shake the whisper. They lied. About the crash? The official report, driver error, had never felt right. Zion was skilled, cautious despite his thrill-seeking. I'd watched him navigate those mountain curves 100 times. Something gnawed at me. a shadow of doubt I'd buried under grief. I called Darius first, my ex-husband, still in the same city, still carrying the weight of our fractured family. His voice, thick with sleep, answered, "Laura? It's barely 6. What's going on?" I hesitated, the words tangled in my throat. "I got a call last night, from Zion's number." A long pause. Then, "You're imagining it. You need rest, Laura. This isn't healthy." His dismissal cut deep, familiar as an old scar. Darius always leaned on logic, never emotion. I pressed on. "It's in the log, Darius." And the voice said, "They lied." Another sigh, heavier. "It's a scam or a hack. Don't do this to yourself." I hung up, frustration simmering. Darius worked at the company that built Zion's bike. If anyone knew about flaws, cover-ups, it was him. His refusal to engage felt like another betrayal. I dialed Kai next, our old friend, the tech expert who could unravel any digital knot. His voice was warm, alert, despite the hour. "Laura, haven't heard from you in ages. What's up?" I poured it out, the call, the voice, the impossible number. He listened, no interruptions. "That's, intense. Send me the phone data. I'll take a look." Kai arrived by noon, laptop tucked under his arm, glasses fogging from the rain. We set up in Zion's room, the air thick with memory. Darius showed up too, reluctant, his engineer's precision etched in his frown. The three of us in one space again felt strange, like stepping back into a life we'd abandoned. Kai plugged in my phone, his fingers dancing over the keys. To fill the silence, I shared stories. Zion got his love for engines from you, Darius. Remember him in the garage, covered in grease? Darius nodded, a flicker of softness in his eyes. Yeah, kid was a natural. Kai's screen lit up with data. He leaned back, expression grim. The call's legit. Traced to Zion's phone. Reactivated minutes before it rang. The room went still. Darius's face drained of color. "That phone's in the ground, Kai." With him, my pulse raced, buried, gone. Yet here was proof, cold and digital. Someone, or something, had reached through the earth. I voiced the fear clawing at me. What if the crash wasn't an accident? What if they covered something up? Darius shifted, eyes darting away. Kai nodded slowly. "Let's check Zion's cloud account. There might be more." My mind spun. A cover-up, the company, the police. Anger bubbled, mixing with the ache of loss. I'd given everything for my son, my career, my dreams, my heart. And now, this suggestion that his death was a lie? That evening, alone, I sat with Zion's photo. Tears fell, silent but heavy. The call replayed in my mind, that broken whisper. They lied. I wouldn't let this go, not now. Whoever sent that message, whatever truth Zion uncovered, I'd find it. For him. For the boy I'd poured my life into. The storm had passed, but a new one brewed inside me. I was done mourning in silence. The morning after the call, the house smelled of damp wood and yesterday's coffee. I sat at the kitchen table, phone in front of me, like evidence in a trial. The call log still open. Zion Vance, 3:27 a.m. 12 seconds. I hadn't slept. Every time I closed my eyes, that whisper replayed. "Mom." They lied. I dialed Darius first. He answered on the third ring, voice thick with sleep. "Laura? It's not even 7. I didn't waste time on pleasantries. I got a call last night, from Zion's number." A long pause. Then, "Grief does strange things, Laura. You need help." His dismissal landed like a slap. I gripped the phone tighter. It's in the log. And the voice. It was him. Another sigh. "Send me a screenshot." "I'll look later." He hung up before I could argue. Frustration burned in my chest. Darius always did that. Reduced everything to data, never feelings. I remembered the nights I stayed up grading papers while he worked late at the company, the way I'd pack Zion's lunches with little notes, the parent-teacher meetings I attended alone, all of it for family, and now, this wall. I called Kai next, our old friend, the one who fixed Zion's first computer when it crashed during finals. His voice came bright through the line. "Laura, what's going on?" I told him everything. The buzz, the whisper, the impossible number. He didn't interrupt once. "That's not normal." "I'm coming over. Bring your phone." Kai arrived by 9, rain still dripping from his jacket. He carried a laptop and a small black case, the kind of gear that made Zion's eyes light up. We set up in Zion's room. The air felt heavier here, thick with memory. Posters of motorcycles and rock bands stared down. His helmet sat on the shelf, scuffed but proud. I ran my fingers over the desk, where he used to sketch engine designs. "He got that from Darius," I said, more to myself than Kai. Darius showed up 20 minutes later, blazer wrinkled, hair uncombed. He hesitated in the doorway, eyes flicking to the helmet. "Let's make this quick." The strain between us crackled, 15 years of blame unspoken. We hadn't shared a room like this since the funeral. Kai plugged my phone into his laptop. Lines of code scrolled across the screen. He worked in silence, the only sound the soft click of keys and the rain against the window. I paced behind him, arms wrapped around myself. Memories kept surfacing. Zion at 14, grease on his cheeks, showing me how he'd rebuilt a carburetor. I'd given up my teaching job to be home when he got out of school, to drive him to races, to cheer louder than anyone. Love meant showing up, always. "Here we go," Kai said finally. He turned the laptop so we could see. The call originated from Zion's actual device, reactivated at 3:25 a.m., 2 minutes before it rang you. The room went still. Darius leaned closer, squinting. "That phone's in the ground, Kai." His voice cracked on the last word. I stared at the screen, the data cold and undeniable. My pulse thudded in my ears. Someone dug it up. Or turned it on from afar. Kai nodded slowly. Remote activation. Possible with the right access. But why? Darius sank into Zion's desk chair, the one with the duct-taped arm. "This has to be a mistake." I whirled on him. "A mistake? My dead son calls me from the grave, and you call it a mistake?" He flinched. "I'm saying, maybe it's a hack, a cruel one." His eyes wouldn't meet mine. Kai raised a hand. "Let's not jump ahead. Laura, any anomalies on your phone before this?" I shook my head. "Nothing. It's the same phone I've had for years." He tapped a few more keys. Zion's cloud account is still linked. Dormant, but active. I can try to access it. The idea sent a shiver through me. Zion's digital footprint, frozen since the crash. Photos, messages, maybe answers. I nodded. "Do it." While Kai worked, I wandered to the window. Rain streaked the glass, blurring the neighbor's porch light. I thought of Zion's laugh, the way it filled this house. Family dinners where I'd burn the garlic bread because I was too busy listening to his stories. Lake house summers, teaching him to skip stones, his small hand in mine. I'd traded promotions, friendships, sleep for those moments. Sacrifice wasn't a choice. It was breathing. "Got something," Kai said. We gathered around the screen, a folder labeled Backup. Inside, encrypted files. Kai's fingers flew. Two-factor is bypassed because the phone pinged the authenticator. Whoever reactivated it, they knew his setup. Darius shifted beside me. Could be a company IT guy. They had access to employee devices. The word company hung heavy. The same company that built Zion's bike. The same one Darius worked for. I turned to him. "You still have contacts there?" He nodded, reluctant. "Some." "I can ask about the phone." His tone said he didn't want to. I pressed, then ask, and get the accident file reopened. He rubbed his temples. Laura, that was ruled on years ago. Ruled wrong. The shout surprised even me. I lowered my voice. Zion said they lied. I'm not letting this go. Kai closed the laptop. I'll keep digging into the cloud. You two handle the official side. He packed his gear, then paused at the door. Laura, whatever this is, it's not random. After they left, I stood in Zion's room alone. The helmet gleamed under the light. I touched it, the cool plastic grounding me. I hear you, baby, I whispered. I'm listening now. That evening, Darius called, filed the request. They'll fight it, but I pulled strings. His voice sounded smaller. Also, someone followed me from the station. Black sedan. Lost them on the highway. My skin prickled. They know we're looking. Another buzz. My phone. A text from Zion's number. Don't trust the reports. I showed Darius over video call. His face paled. Kai needs to see this. We met again the next day. Same room, same tension. Kai traced the text. Signals masked, but the phone's active, transmitting in bursts. He looked up. It's not just calling, it's sending data. Like it's waiting for us to find something. I clutched the phone, the screen cold against my palm. 15 years of quiet mourning, and now this storm. But beneath the fear, a spark. Zion reached out. He trusted me. I wouldn't fail him again. Darius cleared his throat. I'll push harder on the case, whatever it takes. For the first time, his eyes met mine. Not pity, resolve. Kai packed up. Cloud decryption will take time. But we're in. He left with a nod, the door clicking shut behind him. I stood alone again, rain starting outside. The whisper echoed. They lied. I believed him now, and I'd make them pay for it. The mist clung to the windshield like a veil when I pulled into the cemetery lot. I left the wipers on low, their rhythm a dull heartbeat against the silence. The gate stood half open, chain dangling loose. I slipped through, boots crunching on wet gravel. The phone zipped inside my coat pocket. Zion's row came too soon. I stopped at the foot of the plot and stared. The grass was torn in patches, soil mounded in uneven piles. A boot print, broad, deep, pressed into the earth beside the headstone. My knees gave way. I dropped, palms sinking into cold mud. Someone had dug here, recently. I clawed at the dirt, nails scraping until my fingers bled. Nothing, just earth and the faint smell of decay. I pressed my forehead to the stone, rain mixing with tears. I'm sorry I didn't come sooner, I whispered. The wind carried the words away. Darius's truck rumbled up behind me. He climbed out slowly, umbrella forgotten. Laura? His voice cracked when he saw the grave. He knelt beside me, hand hovering before settling on my shoulder. They took it, I said, voice flat. The phone's gone. He nodded, eyes fixed on the disturbed earth. We stayed until the rain soaked us through. Back home, Kai waited on the porch, hood up, laptop case clutched to his chest. He took one look at my mud-streaked hands and opened the door. We filed into the kitchen, water pooling on the tile. I peeled off my coat, set the phone, still in its plastic bag, on the table like contraband. Kai connected it to his setup, cables snaking across the wood. Darius paced, shoes leaving wet prints. I'll get the file reopened, he muttered, grabbing his keys. Company still owes me. The door slammed behind him. Kai's fingers flew over the keys. Reactivation at 3:25 a.m. Remote signal. Tower 3 miles west. I leaned over his shoulder, breath fogging the screen. Not from the grave, he added. Someone has the phone. Turned it on from afar. My stomach twisted. I sank into a chair, the wood creaking under me. Zion's cloud is live, Kai said. Files decrypting now. Thumbnails filled the screen. Lake house sunsets, Zion's grin mid-laugh, then a folder labeled Proof. My hand trembled as I clicked it. A video. Zion's face, pale under the desk lamp. If something happens, don't believe it's an accident. I found something in Dad's project. Break defect. They'll silence anyone who knows. I played it again and again. Each loop carved deeper. Darius burst back in, folder clutched to his chest. They're reopening it. New detective. He froze at the screen. Play it. I did. He sank to the floor, back against the cabinets, hands covering his face. I signed those reports, he choked. They said it was minor. Cost saving. I never thought it would. His shoulders shook. I knelt beside him, hand on his arm. Not comfort, just presence. Kai printed the cloud files, schematics with red circles, emails time-stamped weeks before the crash, a memo titled Brake Failure Risk, High-Speed Cornering. I folded them into the police folder Darius brought. We take this to the station, I said, voice steady for the first time. Now. The detective's office smelled of burnt coffee and old paper. I slid the folder across the desk. Call log. Video. Reactivated phone. Exhume the casket. Detective Ruiz watched the clip, jaw tight. When it ended, he leaned back. We'll need warrants. But this is enough to start. I nodded, throat burning. Find who has the phone. Find who lied. Outside, the mist had burned off. Darius lit a cigarette with shaking fingers. My old boss called. Said to drop it. I snatched the cigarette, crushed it under my heel. We don't drop anything. That night, another text. Proof is buried. Oak tree, midnight. I showed Kai. He traced the signal on his laptop. Same device. Battery at 12%. It's leading us. I grabbed my coat. We go at dawn. Before they move it. I stood in Zion's room, helmet in my hands. The crack down the visor caught the lamplight. I turned it over, fingers tracing the padding. A tiny scratch inside, coordinates etched with a key. 340522 degree N, 118-2437 dig W, the crash site. Under the oak. I texted Kai and Darius, dawn, bring shovels. Then I opened the cloud one last time. A final file had uploaded, a voice memo, 6:27 p.m., the day he died. I pressed play. Zion's voice, softer. Mom, if you're hearing this, it means I tried. Please, don't let them erase me. I clutched the helmet to my chest, rocking gently. Tears soaked the visor. I won't, baby, I promise. At 5:47 a.m., we met at the mountain base, headlights off, engines low. The oak loomed, roots clawing the embankment. Kai carried a metal detector. Darius, shovels. I held the phone, battery at 9%. The screen glowed. Dig. We worked in silence, mud sucking at our boots. My arms burned, but I kept swinging. Metal clanged at 6:12 a.m. A box, rusted, wrapped in plastic. Darius pried it open. Inside, a memory card and a note in Zion's handwriting. Tell the truth. I pressed the card to my lips. The phone buzzed. You found me. Then black. Battery dead. But we had everything. Headlights flared. A black SUV, idling. Kai raised his phone, recording. I stepped forward, memory card raised. We see you. The SUV reversed and vanished. We stood in the dawn light, soaked and shaking. The box between us. Darius's hand found mine. I didn't pull away. Zion's truth was in my grip, cold and solid. The case was open. The lies were ending. The garage door stood half open, sunlight slanting across the concrete like a spotlight on a stage. I leaned in the frame, grocery bags cutting into my forearms, afraid to breathe too loud. Zion knelt on a flattened cardboard box, 14 in all elbows, grease smeared across his cheek like a badge. A carburetor lay in pieces before him, tiny screws lined up like soldiers. Darius crouched beside him, sleeves rolled high, pointing at a hand-drawn diagram taped to the pegboard. Feel the throttle response here? Too lean, and she'll cough on the hairpin. Zion's eyes, bright, hungry, followed every gesture. He nodded, tongue poking from the corner of his mouth the way it did when he concentrated. I set the bags down, soundlessly. My boy dreamed of engineering school, of designing bikes that sang. I'd already quit my full-time teaching job, trading lesson plans for part-time tutoring, every extra dollar funneled into his future. Love tasted like motor oil, and sacrifice. I blinked hard. The memory folded into the present like a photograph left too long in the sun. My hands, older, veins raised, knuckles swollen, curled around a cold coffee mug on the kitchen table. The garage was silent now, tools long rusted. Darius sat opposite me, shoulders hunched, staring at his phone as if it might bite. It buzzed. He flinched so violently the chair legs scraped. The screen glowed. Stop digging or join your son. No name. Just a string of numbers. He slid it toward me with one finger, like it burned. His face had drained to the color of wet paper. I took the phone, pulse thudding in my throat. My thumb left a smudge on the glass. They have your private email. Before I could speak, my own phone vibrated against my hip. I fumbled it out. Zion's number. The proof is buried. The words crawled across the screen, white on black, simple and vicious. The mug slipped from my grip. Ceramic exploded. Coffee bled across the tile in a dark, widening stain. A shiver started at the base of my spine and raced upward, sharp as broken glass. They're inside the house with us. I spun, scanning the corners, the curtains, the sliver of night beyond the window. Nothing moved, yet the air thickened with unseen eyes. I pressed a hand to my chest, feeling my heart slam against bone. Kai arrived within 30 minutes, duffel bag thudding to the floor. Rainwater dripped from his hood onto the welcome mat. He didn't waste words. He unzipped the bag, pulled out palm-sized cameras, and began mounting them with the efficiency of a man defusing a bomb. One above the front door, one in the hallway aimed at Zion's room, one in the garage overlooking the workbench, frozen in time. Each screw clicked like a countdown. When the last camera seated, he tapped his tablet. 4 live feeds bloomed, porch light flickering, hallway shadows, garage tools glinting, and there, a black sedan idling 3 houses down, exhaust curling in the cold. Kai zoomed. Tinted windows, no plates. Same car tailed Darius from the records office yesterday. Parked outside the station for 43 minutes. He met my eyes, steady. They want us to see them. We couldn't stay. The house felt like a trap snapping shut. We chose the cafe on Maple Street. Booths tucked behind fake ivy. The smell of burnt espresso and cinnamon rolls, thick enough to choke on. We slid into the corner, knees bumping under the scarred table. Steam curled from untouched cups. Kai opened his laptop. The video confession played on mute. Zion's mouth formed the words, break defect, silence anyone. I stared until the pixels blurred into wet streaks. Inside my head, a single sentence looped, growing louder, hotter. How could they steal my son's life for profit? The question seared behind my eyes, righteous fury rising like bile. I pressed my palms flat on the table, nails scraping varnish, anchoring the tremor in my hands. Darius rubbed the back of his neck until the skin went raw and red. They cornered me in the parking garage, he said, voice barely carrying over the hiss of the espresso machine. VP said, sign the concealment addendum, or lose everything. Pension, health coverage after your surgery, Zion's scholarship fund. I thought one signature was harmless. His shoulders folded inward, a man shrinking inside his own skin. I reached across, gripped his wrist until my nails left half-moon crescents. It mattered to Zion. The words came out low, dangerous. He flinched but didn't pull away. Kai's fingers danced over keys, the soft clack, 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 the only steady rhythm in the booth. Texts route through a VPN, but the endpoint IP. He spun the laptop. A corporate domain stared back, bold and familiar, the motorcycle company logo in the corner. Reactivation wasn't random. Someone inside triggered the phone to either leak the evidence Zion hid or erase it before we find it. He tapped the screen. Battery at 12%. Signal strength dropping. It's on a countdown. I glanced at the tablet feed. The black sedan still lingered down the block, headlights off now. A predator playing possum. My pulse thundered in my ears, a war drum. I stood so fast the booth rattled, silverware clinked. We go to the crash site. Zion's message points there. The declaration rang out, slicing through the cafe murmur. A waitress startled, coffee sloshing. Heads turned. I didn't care. My hands curled into fists at my sides, nails biting palms until I felt the sting. Tonight, before they bury it again. Darius's eyes widened, but he nodded once, sharp. Kai closed the laptop with a decisive snap. Outside, the sedan's brake lights flared red, then vanished around the corner, tires hissing on wet pavement. We had hours, maybe less. The past wasn't staying buried. Neither were we. I stepped into the night air. Rain starting again, cold needles against my skin. I tilted my face to the sky, letting it wash the fury clean for one heartbeat. Then I walked to the car, keys cutting into my palm, every step a promise. Zion's voice echoed in my skull. The proof is buried. I would dig until my hands bled if I had to. They'd taken my son once. They would not take his truth. The kitchen table had become a war room. Papers spilled across every inch. Company annual reports, faded newspaper clippings, printouts of forum threads from 15 years ago. I sat hunched over a stack of accident summaries, highlighter trembling between my fingers. Each page whispered the same lie, driver error. But the skid marks didn't match. The brake line photos were too clean. I circled, underlined, scribbled in the margins until the pen tore through. Same defect, same curve, same company. My voice cracked on the last word. 3 other crashes. 3 other kids, all buried under the same 2 words. Darius paced behind me, phone pressed to his ear, knuckles white. Yeah, I remember the quarterly. No, I'm not asking for favors, just... The line went dead. He stared at the screen, jaw flexing. My old boss said if I keep pulling threads, my pension evaporates. Friendly advice. He hurled the phone onto the counter. It skittered, stopped against a coffee ring. His hands shook so hard, the wedding band he still wore clinked against the granite. I closed my eyes. The room dissolved into memory. Christmas Eve, fairy lights tangled in Zion's hair as he wrestled wrapping paper from a new socket set. I stood between him and Darius, refereeing the annual argument over curfew. He's 17, not 7, Zion had shouted. Darius's reply, something about responsibility, had ended with me pouring eggnog and forcing smiles. I'd given up book club, weekend getaways, even the idea of dating again. Every minute poured into keeping the peace, keeping Zion safe. Safe. The word tasted like rust now. Kai's laptop chimed. He spun it toward us. Phone data dump finished. A folder labeled Ghost Upload 17. He clicked. Files bloomed. Blueprints, audio snippets, a grainy video of Zion in the garage, time-stamped 4:12 p.m. the day he died. He held a brake caliper to the camera, voice low. See the scoring? Factory floor. They know. Then the upload path. Encrypted, routed through a dead drop server, He hid the proof before the crash. My phone buzzed on the table. Zion's number. I froze. The room narrowed to that glowing rectangle. I swiped. No voice, just breathing. Heavy, deliberate, alive. "Who is this?" I screamed into the silence. The breathing hitched, then cut off. 12 seconds again. The call log blinked. Zion Vance. I dropped the phone like it burned. It clattered, spun, landed face down. My hands flew to my mouth. A sob tore free, raw and animal. Darius lunged, grabbed my shoulders. "Laura, breathe." I shoved him away, chest heaving. "They're in his phone, in his grave, in my head." Kai's fingers flew over keys, tracing the signal, bounced through the same tower. Someone's holding the device. Close. Paranoia crackled like static. Darius scanned the windows, curtains twitching. Moles everywhere. Yeti guy who retired last year? Still golfs with the VP. Janitor who cleaned my old office. Suddenly drives a new truck. His voice climbed, words tumbling. "We can't trust anyone." I sank into a chair, knees buckling. Shadows of deceit loomed like storm clouds over our fractured family, swallowing the last light. I'd turned down dinner invitations, sold my piano, let friendships wither, everything funneled into Zion's memory, into keeping his room perfect, his helmet polished. 15 years of quiet devotion, and now this invasion. My sacrifices mocked me from every corner. Kai closed the laptop with a soft click. Battery at 9%. Signals pulsing. Coordinates embedded in the metadata. He turned the screen. A pin on the mountain curve. The crash site. Under the oak. I stood slowly, the chair scraping back like a starting gun. My hands steadied. We confront it. Tonight. Shovels, flashlights, cameras. My voice didn't waver. Fury had crystallized into something sharp and useful. Darius met my eyes, fear flickering, then resolve. Kai nodded once. I grabbed Zion's helmet from the shelf, the crack in the visor catching the light like a lightning bolt. I pressed it to my chest, feeling the weight of every promise I'd failed to keep. "We dig until we bleed if we have to." The words hung in the air, electric. Something new was coming. Truth, justice, maybe both. I could taste it, metallic on my tongue. Kai's living room felt like a bunker, blinds drawn tight. The hum of his servers the only soundtrack. He handed out small black devices, GPS trackers disguised as key fobs, and encrypted phones with screens that glowed dimly in the low light. I clipped the tracker to my belt loop. Fingers fumbling slightly, the cold metal a reminder of how exposed we'd been. Darius tested his phone, thumb pressing the power button twice, his face etched with lines I hadn't noticed before. These ping only to us. No company hacks. Kai's voice was steady, but his eyes darted to the window, where rain streaked the glass like tears. I nodded, heart racing a beat faster. We couldn't risk another tale. I pulled out my wallet, counted the bills I'd withdrawn that morning. Cash only, no traces, and dialed the private investigator I'd found through an old library contact. Her voice came crisp over the line. "Mrs. Vance, what do you need?" I leaned against the wall, breath shallow. "Trail the executives, names on this list. Any talk of cover-ups, defects. Get it on tape." She agreed. Fee wired anonymously. I hung up, palms slick with sweat, imagining her slipping through shadows, camera hidden. The game had flipped. We were hunting them now. We spread Zion's texts and the cloud map across the coffee table, pins marking the oak tree at the crash site. Kai sketched the plan on a napkin. Night visit 2 a.m., low visibility. We'd use Zion's messages as breadcrumbs. Proof buried. Oak tree, 12 feet south. I traced the route with my finger, nail catching on the paper. Darius paced, stopping to grip the back of a chair until his knuckles blanched. We park a mile out, hike in silent. His voice trembled at the edges, But he straightened his shoulders, the engineer in him surfacing. Darius left for his storage unit, returning hours later with a rolled tube under his arm. Old blueprints from the company vault. He unfurled them on the floor, dust motes dancing in the lamplight. I knelt, heart pounding as he pointed to the brake schematics. See the caliper tolerance? On mountain curves, high speed. It fails. Lethal. His finger shook, circling the floor. I touched the paper, imagining Zion's hands on that same design. His discovery sealing his fate. My throat tightened. I swallowed hard, forcing the lump down. To sell normalcy, I drove to the company headquarters the next day, heart slamming against my ribs like a prisoner. The lobby gleamed, sterile and corporate. Receptionists smiling too brightly. I signed in under my maiden name, claimed I wanted closure on Zion's employee scholarship. Darius's old perk. They led me to a conference room, but I lingered in the hallway, ear pressed to a cracked door. Whispers floated out. Vance files sealed. If that widow digs. A chair scraped. I slipped away, pulse roaring in my ears, fists clenched in my pockets. They knew my name. They feared me. Back at Kai's, the confident tone settled over me like armor. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, eyes no longer hollow but sharp. I'm not the grieving widow anymore. I'm the avenger. The thought ignited something fierce inside, a fire that warmed the chill of 15 years. I splashed water on my face, droplets clinging to my lashes, and rejoined the men. We practiced scenarios in the backyard, rain turning the grass slick. Kai played tail, darting behind trees. Darius and I evaded, breaths coming in short gasps. "Stay alert," Darius barked, dodging left. "We're close," I echoed. Lunging right, adrenaline surging through my veins like electricity. That night, sleep eluded me. I tossed on Kai's spare bed, the sheets twisting around my legs. When dreams came, they were vivid. Zion in the garage, video confession playing on loop. He looked at me, eyes pleading yet brave. I tried, Mum. I reached for him, but he faded, leaving strength in his wake. I woke gasping, sheets damp with sweat, hand outstretched. Tears streamed, hot and silent, but I wiped them away, drawing from his courage. My boy had fought alone. I wouldn't. Kai decoded more cloud data at dawn, laptop screen casting blue shadows on his face, pre-crash uploads, traffic cam footage, grainy but clear. We huddled around, Zion's bike on the mountain road, headlights flaring behind him, an unmarked SUV, weaving close, bumping his rear. He swerved, lost control. The curve claimed him. Darius slammed a fist on the table, coffee cups jumping. They chased him. His voice broke, face contorting in rage and regret. I gripped his arm, nails digging in, my own fury mirroring his. They murdered him. The word hung, electric, my breath coming in ragged bursts. We geared up as dusk fell. Black clothes, shovels in the trunk, encrypted phones charged. The drive to the mountain twisted like a noose tightening. Rain hammered the windshield, wipers slashed back and forth in frantic rhythm. I sat shotgun, Zion's helmet in my lap, thumb tracing the crack. Darius gripped the wheel, knuckles bone white. Kai monitored feeds from the back. Clear so far. But his voice edged higher. Halfway up, headlights bloomed in the rear view. Distant at first, then closing. A dark sedan, no plates. My stomach plummeted. They're here. I twisted, staring back. The car accelerated, rain sheeting off its hood. Darius floored it, tires squealing on wet pavement. Hold on! The mountain loomed, curves sharpening. My heart thundered, breath shallow and sharp. Kai tapped his tablet furiously. Signal jam incoming. The sedan rammed our bumper. Metal crunched. We fishtailed. I clutched the dashboard, nails scoring plastic. The chase intensified. headlights blinding, the sight just ahead. We couldn't stop now. Not with truth so close. The mountain road coiled upward like a venomous snake, slick with rain that hammered the windshield in relentless fury. Darius gripped the wheel so tightly, his knuckles glowed white in the dashboard light, his jaw clenched as if biting back a scream. The tailing sedan had vanished around a bend minutes ago, but its absence only heightened the terror. Were they waiting ahead? Circling back? My breath came in shallow gasps, chest heaving. I pressed Zion's helmet to my lap, fingers tracing the crack like a lifeline. Lightning forked across the sky, illuminating the scarred curve where my boy had lost control 15 years ago. The asphalt bore faint gouges, ghosts of twisted metal. That's where it happened, I whispered, voice breaking, tears blurring the view. Darius glanced at me, eyes red-rimmed, and squeezed my knee. Brief, desperate comfort. Kai in the back muttered under his breath, tablet screen flickering, signals dropping, we need to hurry. We skidded to a halt in a hidden pull-off, engine cutting with a final shudder. The silence crashed in, broken only by the storm's roar. I flung open the door, rain instantly soaking my hair, plastering it to my face. Darius grabbed the shovels from the trunk, metal clanging like alarm bells. His hands shook so violently, one nearly slipped from his grasp. Kai slung his backpack over one shoulder, phone ready to record, his face pale, but set in grim resolve. We hiked the embankment, boots sinking into mud that pulled like grasping hands. Lightning cracked again, revealing the old oak tree. Twisted roots exposed like skeletal fingers, branches thrashing wildly in the wind. Zion's cryptic texts guided us. Oak tree, 12 feet south. Dig deep. I dropped to my knees first, shovel stabbing the earth with a wet thud. Here, it's here, I cried, voice raw, desperation fueling each thrust. We dug frantically, a chaotic rhythm of grunts and gasps. Mud flew in arcs, splattering our faces. Darius swung his shovel like a man possessed, sweat mixing with rain, his breaths coming in ragged bursts. Keep going. We can't stop now. He panted, pausing only to wipe his eyes. Tears or rain, I couldn't tell. Kai's arms trembled, blisters forming on his palms, but he matched our pace, muttering encouragements. Deeper, the signal points right under us. My muscles screamed in protest, arms burning like fire, but I dug harder, sobs hitching in my throat. Lightning flashed, casting our shadows long and monstrous against the tree. Every scoop felt like peeling back layers of lies, closer to Zion, closer to truth. Come on, baby. Show us. I begged the ground, voice cracking with anguish. Metal scraped against something hard. I felt it! Something's here! Darius shouted, dropping his shovel to claw with bare hands, nails tearing into the soil. We all dove in, fingers scrambling, mud caking under nails. The hole widened. Lightning revealed a weathered metal box, rusted edges sealed with tape against the elements, plastic wrap clinging stubbornly. I pried it free with trembling hands, the lid groaning open like a final breath. Inside, a memory card in a Ziploc bag and a folded note in Zion's scrawled handwriting. For Mum. Don't let them win. My heart seized. I clutched the box to my chest, a sob escaping as tears streamed hot down my chilled face. Kai fumbled the card into his tablet, screen glowing eerie blue. Loading. Oh God, it's footage. The video played. Zion's helmet cam, shaky but clear. His bike roaring down the mountain, headlights swelling behind him. An unmarked SUV closing fast. A bump, then another. Zion's voice over the audio, panicked and furious. They're ramming me. The brakes. They're failing. It's the defect. The curve loomed. He swerved, lost control. The screen went black. Proof of pursuit. Foul play. Darius staggered back, hand over his mouth, retching dryly into the mud. My boy, they hunted him like an animal. His voice shattered, body crumpling as sobs racked him. Kai's eyes widened in horror, hands shaking as he replayed a frame. This proves everything. Headlights pierce the darkness suddenly, tires crunching gravel like bones. A black SUV skidded to a halt feet away, door flying open. A burly enforcer stepped out, hood shadowing his face, rain glistening on a coat that bulged suspiciously at the hip. He advanced slowly, boots squelching, voice a low growl that sent ice through my veins. Give it up. Hand over the box, or things get ugly. Threat dripped from every word. He cracked his knuckles, a deliberate snap that echoed like gunfire. My blood ran cold, anxiety twisting my gut into knots. I froze, breath hitching, visions of Zion's final moments flashing in terror. Darius rose unsteadily, shovel raised like a club, face contorted in rage and fear. Stay back, you won't touch her. Kai subtly angled his phone recording, his free hand balling into a fist. Smile, you're on camera. The enforcer laughed, a chilling bark, and lunged forward, hand darting into his coat. You think a video stops us? We've buried worse. Horror gripped me tighter. I stepped back, slipping in mud, but fury surged over the fear. I held up the tablet, footage looping Zion's desperate swerve. This shows the defect in your chase. Zion didn't die by accident. My voice boomed, defiant and trembling with righteous wrath. The enforcer hesitated, eyes flicking to the screen, panic flickering in his shadowed gaze. You don't know what you're doing. He grabbed for the tablet. I yanked it away, slipping again, mud splattering my face. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance, growing louder. Darius had called anonymously from the encrypted phone, voice disguised in a hurried whisper. The enforcer's head snapped toward the sound, face paling. You called the cops? He spat, bolting back to his SUV, door slamming as tires spun wildly, flinging mud. The vehicle fishtailed away into the night, taillights vanishing like fleeing ghosts. The sirens swelled, red and blue lights strobing through the trees, police cruisers cresting the curve. I collapsed fully then, knees buckling into the muck, clutching the box to my heart as if it was Zion himself. Sobs tore from me, deep and guttural, body rocking with the force. You fought back, Zion. I'm so proud. So proud. Tears poured, mixing with rain and mud, my hands shaking uncontrollably around the metal. Darius knelt beside me, arms enveloping me in a fierce hug, his own sobs muffled against my shoulder. He did it. Our boy did it. Kai stood guard, phone still recording, tears tracking down his cheeks as he whispered, It's over. We got them. The betrayer's scheme crumbled in that moment. The cover-up shattering like fragile glass under the storm's assault. Justice wasn't a distant dream. It surfaced raw and undeniable. The truth rising from the grave, like Zion's final whisper. Police boots splashed toward us, questions firing, but I felt the weight lift from my soul, a liberation so profound it stole my breath. No longer a victim, hollowed by endless grief, I was a force for truth, forged in this mud and lightning. Zion's light pierced the darkness, warm and eternal. We had avenged him. The police station smelled of bleach and burnt coffee, fluorescent lights humming overhead, like a swarm of tired insects. I sat on a hard plastic chair, the metal box on my lap, Zion's helmet beside it. My clothes were still caked with mountain mud, hair plastered to my skull, but I refused to change. I wanted them to see what we'd clawed from the earth. Detective Ruiz slid a cup of water across the table. Condensation beaded on the plastic. Mrs. Vance, the footage is conclusive. We're reopening the case. Full investigation. Indictments by morning. His voice was gentle, but the words hit like a gavel. I nodded, throat too tight for speech. Darius stood behind me, hand on my shoulder, fingers squeezing in silent rhythm. Kai leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes red but steady. They took the memory card, the note, the blueprints, every piece of Zion's fight. I watched them bag it all, evidence tags fluttering like white flags. When the last item disappeared into a locker, I exhaled. A long, shuddering breath that felt like the first in 15 years. The weight was gone. Not the grief. That would always live in my bones. But the helplessness. The silence. Gone. Outside, dawn painted the sky the color of Zion's old racing jacket. Soft orange bleeding into rose. We walked to the parking lot in silence. Darius opened the truck door for me, then paused. I testified this morning, named names. They can't touch the pension now. His voice cracked on the last word. I touched his cheek, thumb brushing the stubble. You did right by him. He nodded, tears spilling, and pulled me into a hug that smelled of rain and regret and redemption. Kai drove us home. The radio stayed off. None of us could bear music yet. I stared out the window, watching the town wake up. Mailboxes opening, sprinklers hissing, a dog barking at nothing, ordinary life. Zion never got to see 30. The thought stabbed, but I let it land. Pain was proof he'd existed. At the house, I carried the helmet inside. The living room still held the faint scent of mud and coffee from our war room nights. I set the helmet on the mantel, right where his senior photo used to sit. Then I opened the metal box one last time. Tucked beneath the plastic wrap was something I'd missed. A tiny flash drive, labeled in Zion's handwriting. Play me last. My hands shook as I plugged it into Kai's laptop. The screen filled with Zion's face, softer now, sitting on his bed. Behind him, the same posters, the same lamp. But his eyes were calm. Mum, if you're hearing this, it means I tried. And it means you found the proof. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you in person. I love you. Dad too, even when he was a pain. Tell him the garage light still works. He smiled. Small, brave, 17 forever. Don't let them erase me. Live loud, okay? For both of us. The video ended. I played it again. And again. Until the words were carved into my heart. Darius sat beside me, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. Kai stood in the doorway, giving us space. When the tears slowed, I closed the laptop. He knew we'd find it. Weeks blurred. The company crumbled, executives arrested, stock plummeting, recalls issued nationwide. Darius's testimony made headlines. He refused interviews, but the truth spoke for itself. I started a foundation in Zion's name, scholarships for kids who tinker in garages, safety advocacy for defective parts. The first check came from an anonymous donor, the private investigator I'd hired. She'd kept digging after the arrests, turning over more buried files. Justice, it turned out, had many hands. I transformed Zion's room. The posters came down, replaced by blueprints, his designs, now framed. The helmet stayed on the shelf, crack and all, a reminder that broken things can still hold light. I bought a small cabin by the lake house, the one we used to visit. Weekends there became ritual. Coffee on the dock, skipping stones, teaching neighborhood kids how to wrench a bolt. I laughed again, real laughs, the kind that start in the belly and spill out loud. One evening, 6 months later, I sat at the cabin's tiny desk. Laptop open. The Foundation's first annual report glowed on the screen. 47 scholarships awarded, 12 recalls prevented, 3 lives saved. I closed the file and opened the flash drive. Zion's face appeared. I let it play, volume low, his voice a gentle tide. When it ended, I whispered to the empty room, "You weren't erased, Zion. You made sure of that." I stood, walked to the window. The lake shimmered under moonlight. ripples catching starlight. I pressed my palm to the glass, feeling the cool pain, the pulse of the world beyond. True justice doesn't always come from courtrooms or headlines. Sometimes it comes from a mother who refuses to let her son's voice fade, from a father who finally speaks the truth, from friends who dig through mud and memory until the light breaks through. I smiled, small, steady, alive. The lesson wasn't in the winning. It was in the refusing to lose him again. And there I was, standing by the lake at dawn, the water so still, it mirrored every star. Zion's voice still in my ears, his laugh in the wind. Did you like my story? What city are you from? See me in the comments. I read every single one. If it touched you, if it made you feel something, support me with super thanks so I can keep telling stories like this. Thank you so much for your amazing support. I look forward to your comments. On screen you'll see 2 new real-life stories I highly recommend. There are so many more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next story. With all love and respect.